Howdy guys, welcome to our quest for compounds. This is something I've wanted to do forever. Basically, since I figured out that big turbos are better, but smaller turbos are also better. So you put one of each in and you get the best of both worlds. So we're going to make this really quick. I got a list of all the things we're going to have to make in order to run compounds on our truck. This is of course going in the white truck, which is the white 96, which is basically it's like a toy, but you have to do work with it as well. So for the secondary, we're going to be using the stock HX35 with, I think, I might try playing around with turbine housings, but I was going to go with an 18 centimeter with a quick spool valve, try to get the best of both worlds of low end flow and high end flow. I installed one on my truck. I didn't exactly like the result. It still chokes up high, not quite as bad, but it still chokes up there. So it's obviously a problem with the turbine wheel and not the turbine housing. So I'll probably just go with an a 12 centimeter HX35 without a quick spool valve. Then for our primary, we're going to be using a GT4294. That is a rather large turbo. It's actually, in the scheme of things, it's not that big. It's a 70.5 millimeter compressor. This is actually the GT4202. So this is not the one we're actually going to be using, but physically it's the same size, just the compressor is the only difference. The compressor's slightly bigger on this guy, but yeah, he's quite big in comparison to the HX35. We got these guys off a Detroit 60 series. Actually, we got both of them off a Detroit 60 series. So it flows plenty of air. It came on a 12.7 liter Detroit diesel. Anywho, back to our list, which didn't include turbos, so we didn't bring it up until now. Other than turbos, we're going to need a couple of things. A manifold spacer, because we're going to be flipping the manifold and clocking the HX35 for the outlet to point down. The compressor housing will hit the manifold, and you get issues with that, obviously. So we're going to run a manifold spacer to space it out. We're not going to buy one. We're going to build it. We're also, as of right now, the plan is to build a external gate into that manifold spacer. So it's going to be about a 1-inch spacer. That's going to require new studs. That's going to require an external gate. We'll probably make the external gate. I'm not going to use diaphragms. I'm just going to run it off spring pressure, so it's like a spring gate. If you look up from one of my research in the compound world, spring gates are very effective, and even when they use an external gate, they basically just set it up like a spring gate, or at least that's very common, especially for like a tow twin setup. For something that's more high horsepower, high RPM flow, they may change it slightly. That's just my research. We're gonna see how this thing works. But anyway, yeah. So we're gonna have an E-gate, and that's gonna bypass the secondary charger. We're gonna need a hot pipe, which is the exhaust pipe going from the secondary to the primary. We're gonna make that as well. Flanges, both the T6 for the inlet of the turbine and probably a 5-bolt for the back of the HX35. I was considering running a 2.5-inch V-band, but I don't like that, how much weight and whatever that would take, and you have the possibility of leaking. Not a big fan, so probably just use a 5-bolt. Interstage pipe, that is the, maybe that's called the cold pipe? I don't know. Anyway, that is the pipe that goes between the outlet of the primary to the inlet of the secondary. So it transfers boost from the pressure or the air from one turbo to the other. We're gonna make it ourselves. I'm not sure how we're gonna do that. There's a couple different flavors. We'll get into it sometime. Haven't quite decided. Pretty much, I'm trying to decide whether I should try to take advantage of this elbow I got. Which, I mean, come on, guys, can we just stop right now, really quick? Look at how big that is. Stock HX35, GT4294. There's no comparison. There is no comparison there. It's massive. That's 4-inch. That is huge. Then we have the air filter pipe. That's pretty self-explanatory. We need to have air filter pipe coming up with air filter. I don't have the stock battery set up. Let me get something here really quick. I don't have the stock battery set up, so I'm kind of flexible as far as where I put the air filter, but I got this handy boot from the same guy that I got the turbochargers from. He was a really good guy. I got this boot and piece of aluminum piping. I can't weld aluminum, so if I've got to do any kind of welding, he also sent me with a chunk of, like a 5-foot chunk of exhaust pipe that has a couple small bends in it. I can try to utilize that as well. And It's like almost new pipe. It was really good shape and everything. No rust in there at all. We searched for it. He was a really nice guy. I can't say much. Can't say enough about him. And he was wanting to just give it to me. Because I bought the turbochargers, he wanted to just give it to me. But we spent 20 minutes looking for that stuff. I told him, no, don't worry about it. He's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. So I had to give him something. Anyway, air filter pipe, not quite sure, because that elbow, that boot does put, that would put like the, it's really slick, but it would put the filter back behind where the stock filter is. I wouldn't mind the filter up front. I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind. Well, you never know. And at some point I'll probably change up my filter setup to run a different filter, maybe a Donaldson, what was it called, the new blue ones, they're fancy. Maybe, I don't know, compounds kind of limit the room down there, but you never know, so maybe, who knows. Oil drains. I'm not sure if I'm going to knock a hole in the block, or knock a hole in the pan, or I'm going to weld a bung into here. What it really relies on is how high up I decide to mount the primary. Because if it's high up here, then that's still a nice, smooth drain down to the oil drain on the block there, the stock one. I can just weld another bung, a barb in, and kind of come out at like a little bit of an angle, and it'll work fine. But if I have to mount it too down low, then it becomes too much of a straight or a flat level thing. So especially if you're going up a hill, you're not going to get very good flow down there, and it'd be better off to knock a hole in the pan, but I really don't want to do that in the truck, so I'd have to pull the pan, which adds a whole lot of BS. I should have done that long ago when I could have gotten at it easier and whatnot, but whatever. Apparently I don't think very far ahead on projects. Charge pipe. That is, at least that's what I'm calling it, the pipe that goes from the secondary to the intercooler. We're going to do that one last of these pipes. I got these in the general order of which I'm planning on taking care of them. I got that one last because that one's pretty flexible. I can either go up and down, or I can sneak it down like this. In the end, I just want to be able to change the fuel filter or the oil filter without too much hassle. If I got to remove like the air filter, I'm okay with that. This is going to be sacrifices, so it's probably not going to be as easy as stock, but you know, we'll see how bad it is when we do it. That's charge pipe. Primary support. That is one heavy turbocharger. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'll probably just, I have my T6 flange. I'll probably weld some mounts to it, and then have those mounts go off to somewhere on the block. This, come to keep in mind, this is a storm block. I'm using it for mock-up only. It's garbage, got a bunch of water damage in there. So it has the secondary oil drain for the turbocharger for your primary built in, which is really awesome. And it also has a couple extra bolt mounts, bolt holes, bungs, bosses. I don't remember what you're supposed to call those, but it's got a couple extra of those as well, which is really handy for primary mount. You just put the little mount down here, you piece that, boom, boom, done. Bob's your auntie. But the block in the truck is not a storm block, so I don't have all this extra foolery. So I gotta figure out a different way of doing it. Oil feeds. That's pretty simple. Go into the oil filter. I'm really tempted to pull that off, tap it to 1/4 inch MPT, because 1/8 inch MPT just to me looks very wimpy, and I don't want that to break off or do anything weird. It's just kind of small, so I'll probably bring that to 3/8 inch, 1/4 inch MPT, and then I'll run an adapter to some AN6 or line. I'll probably get either stainless steel. I'll get them made for me. I just order them, custom, whatever. AN6 or AN8, depending on what I decide to do. It's probably going to be AN6. Get that line stainless steel braided, and so I'll get 2 of them, one for the secondary, one for the primary, and then I'll just run adapters and whatnot, so it's really just run-of-the-mill hose. Or, same thing, but I get my local hydraulic shop to do it. So, really the only difference is one's stainless steel on the outside and one's with rubber on the outside. Downpipe. This is something that I haven't really worked completely through yet. What I'm going to do is, I should have done this when I was at that gentleman's place. I'm going to ask him if he's got a chunk of output pipe for this turbocharger for stock. This guy's got a 5-inch. Let me just give it a moment. There we go. Okay, this guy's got a 5-inch. Oh, come on, I have it. A 5-inch out there. It is. Output exhaust. This is the stock elbow, like that. Now I'm going to get some hate for this, but for at least a short period of time, I am going to run the stock 3-inch exhaust. So we'll have to adapt this down to this. Ooh, excuse me. Either this Or because this guy is so small, 2.5 inches, right ish, I might make my own one of these. I don't know exactly how I do that. I'd have to almost eliminate this flex joint and just go straight to the exhaust pipe. Either way, I have to adapt it down to your 3-inch exhaust pipe, so I'll have to do some welding there to the flange. If I can get the flange, and that shouldn't be too hard. Anywho, so that's basically that. We're gonna have at this. We're gonna be just making flanges and stuff. First things first is gonna be the manifold spacer, because I need to get that secondary in its permanent location before I go around fabbing everything else around it, because if it's not in the right spot, then everything else will be thrown off. So we're going to start with the manifold spacer, hot pipe. This is basically in order: manifold spacer, hot pipe, interstage pipe, air filter pipe, oil drains, charge pipe, primary support, oil feeds, and then down pipe. I won't be able to do much with the down pipe until I have the system in the truck. So what I'll probably do is tack weld everything, throw it in the truck, make sure there's no clearance issues, because obviously there's a couple things here that I don't have. For instance, the shock tower and a bell housing adapter, but I do have most of the important things. I can take measurements and stuff with the truck, but tack weld all of it, check it, make sure it works, then mess with the exhaust pipe, tack weld it, bring it out, weld up everything, and then throw it on for keeps and listen to the whoopah. Anywho, so that's basically that. That's what we're going to be working on. So take care, stay tuned if you like watching a bunch of monkeys with torches and grinders and drills and drill presses fabricate stuff. So take care and keep wrenching.